So hello guys, once again, welcome back to the channel. So for today, we're just going to stick with this batch of card previews that was revealed. I think I got this from MTG Goldfish site under their Brothers War card previews page. But today we'll just skip now, not yet for the deck list, but rather we'll look into detail each of these cards, especially some batch of these common cards that might have potential not only in limited but also in standard gameplay. So we start with this one from the white card. It's called as the Airlift Chaplain. Let me just adjust the screen a bit. Okay. So it's a 3 to cast 1/1 human cleric flying. Its ability is that when it enters the battlefield, you will mill 3 cards, then you may put a plains card or a creature card with mana value 3 or less from among the cards milled this way to your hand. If you don't, you put up a summon counter on Airlift Chaplain. So this is a good option to basically save, mill, or search for a plains card from the top 3 cards of the library, and also have this as a 2/2 flyer if needed for additional power that can evade the creatures and do some early attacks. But the good thing here is that with the theme of the set that has basically returned with the Unearth ability, some of these cards that can be milled maybe have this ability that can be later on be casted or activated using those unearthed cost. So basically, this is not really a drawback here, but to have do and say it as a double benefit of to get a plains card and have those other creature cards placed there with their unearthed ability. So also you can steal a good gas because you can not only use plains card but also have a creature card with mana value 3 or less to be put into your hand. So basically you can search out any other utility creatures that you have or any other creatures that has basically mana value 3 or less. So by its ability, not only limited, I think this can still have a fit in some white based deck, aggro deck perhaps, or any other creature type decks that has this build. So next we have the Blanchwood Prowler. It is a common green card, 2 to cast 1/1 elemental. It has still the same ability as that one, but it says that you may put a land card from among the cards milled this way to your hand. If you don't, put up a summon counter on Blanchwood Prowler. So basically, getting any land card from the cards milled this way is a good way to do another mana fix. Since it is a 2-drop, it may helps you to fill your graveyard but also get the right land from the top 3 cards of the library. It is like the creature version of the mulch card, but the only drawback is that you will just to mill 3 instead of 4. But still a good thing is that you can still have a good power here if you don't ever, for in case that you would want to have to put a land card from those cards, you still get a 2/2 for 2. This is still a good value nonetheless. Next we have the Jinklaw. This is a common artifact creature, artifact equipment. It gets the equipped creature gets +1/+0 and as menace. The good thing is that whenever a creature enters the battlefield from your graveyard, you may attach the Jinklaw to it and equip as a 1 in black. So this is a bonus again for those mill cards or those cards that has entered from your graveyard, which means they have been unearthed, and you will have to attack and have this +1/+0 and menace could be a very relevant, since it would then force your opponents to do some not jump blocks but also do a double block to be able to deal with that unearthed creature. So it still depends on how the setup goes, but still this is a good inclusion in most of the unearthed deck builds in the format. Next we have Geeksian Skullflayer. It is a 3 to cast 2/3 for 2 generic and black Operation Human Assassin. So it's Operation was embedded. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 3 or more cards in your graveyard, creature cards, put up a summon counter on Geeksian Skullflayer. So self-mill cards again that can benefit from this, but I'm not sure if it would really hit standard gameplay because of this mana cost. Would not really having a +1/+1 counter on it for each turn of the upkeep would not really be relevant in most cases, because there are times that there are better 3 drops or 4 drops on this rather than having this in the deck. So anyway, next, Hostile Negotiations. This is an interesting card again, an instant rare, 3 generic and black, 1 black. It has the ability that exile the top 3 cards of the library and face down, and then exile the next top 3 cards in the library another pile face down. So look at the cards at each pile, then turn a pile of your choice face up. Opponent chose one of those piles. Put all cards in that pile into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. You lose 3 life. So basically, this is a black version of the Fact or Fiction card from blue. If you remember, you would look at the top, exile the top 5 cards of your library and put in 2 separate piles face down. But here, you will exile each of this pile as the top 3 cards, and then you will have your opponent choose one of them. But the other pile would be turned face up, so that would be have some tricky situations for your opponent whenever you rebuild a potential face up card that might be better or lesser value than that of the face down. So it would still become a good interesting card to add for some black base mid-range decks, since this is also kind of a hard draw for them at the cost again of just 3 life in this scenario. So still putting the rest of those pile in the graveyard would also benefit some of the unearthed or other cards that can be flashback later on. Next, we have Killzone Acrobat. This is common human soldier, 3 to cast 3/2. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact, and if you do, it gains flying. So a good way to sacrifice engine, but the problem is they would still need to attack. So not really a good on this in the terms of having some combat tricks in this setup, because you would just need to have the attack trigger first in order to sacrifice another creature or artifact. But still, this is have some benefits if you have some recurring artifacts or any setup that would gets you the benefit whenever you sacrifice a creature or artifact. So standard base, and it's not really good for this for a 3-drop for 3/2 that has this ability, which can be really easily killed by mere spot removers or 2 damage effects. Next, we have Meticulous Excavation. This is a 1 to cast enchantment, return target permanent you control to its owner's hand by this ability. If it has an earth, instead exile it and return the card to its owner's hand. Activate only during your turn. So basically, this is a good way to recycle your creatures that has an earth. So return it again by basically, if you go into attacking, then post combat, you will activate this to return it. So instead of having the exile because it would unearth, it will replace that ability to exile it and then return it that card to its owner's hand. So this is a good way to wrap up some of your unearthed cards that has been quite used. For example, if they've been milled into your graveyard, and then you just activate their unearthed ability and then activate this again to return it to your hand. So it's basically a good cycle card. But the problem here is that you would really need to have built around deck for an unearthed theme or setting. Next, we have Perimeter Patrol. The 3 to cast green, 2 generic, and green 3/3 human soldier. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +1/+0. So nothing to fancy there. Is that the benefit for only the casting artifact creatures or any artifact that enters the battlefield under your control, you will have them pump. But the bad thing here is that it can't really be a good a trade, because its toughness is still 3. So you only have 4/3, 5/3, 6/3, and might later on just trade out against other 3 power based creatures. So not really beneficial for that one. Okay, next, Ravenous Gigamot. It's a 4 to cast 2/3 mole horror, 3 generic, 1 black. Whenever enters the battlefield, again mill 3 cards. I think this is the black version of that cycle. On milling 3 cards, you may put a creature card from the cards milled this way to your hand And if you don't, you put up some sun counter on ravenous gigamot. So another way to fill up your graveyard, have some unearthed creatures, place them or milled, and then use them later on as an additional attacker or additional cast. So 3/4 for basically this becomes a 3/4/4/4. So not really a good in a sense, but again, if needed to your curve, you'll just have this one, at least a copy of this, to get those meals and also have a creature card returned from out of those 3 cards milled. Okay, Rust Goliath. It's a 10 to cast artifact creature construct for 10. 10, 10, 10. Rich trample, but you can have this prototype version of having to 5, 3, green, green, 3, 5, rich trample. So, also good. This theme of the prototype cards are really fascinating me because of the setup that you can just basically have this any of these creatures that can be casted early on because of the prototype ability, and later on if you have maybe drawn another copy of them and you have enough mana to hardcast them, you can just basically go for it as a pure, like for this one, the version of a pure Rust Goliath for 10/10 rich trample. It's basically the game ender in that scenario. But again, the drawback is there are artifacts, so basically they're prone to destroy effects of artifacts such as a blade. Next, we have Scrapwork Mat. 2 to cast, 2/1. When enters the battlefield, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. This is a good, I think this, looking at for mono red, I think this is a good inclusion for them because you have also the option to unearth them. So, for example, if you have a scenario wherein you are flooding or you have drawn extra lands, you can have them discarded for the Mat's ability and then draw out to your burn spells or your other sets in the deck. Given that it's also 2/1, you can just trade early on and just cast it again for its unearthed ability, or I mean activate the unearthed ability to have it return to the battlefield. And also it has haste, so it is also a good attacker for its setup. And by the looks of it, I think I would add this one 2 to 3 copies in this as a 2-drop for my mono red aggro deck. Okay, Scrapwork Creature. This is the unearthed version of the Prediction Rager. Still with the same 2/2 and the ability of entering the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. But the benefit is that it is unearthed ability and the cost is only 1 mana greater because it is 4 instead of 3. And unearthed also with 3. I mean with 4. So still a utility card, can be used for the meals and the unearthed, but not really on the attacker side because it is only 2/2 and would not really benefit in the late game with just having this will just have you draw to your best spells instead. Okay, next, Terribleista. This is a rare card from, I think this was revealed in the official video from Blizzard just earlier today. This is 7 to cast 5/3. Menace. Whenever attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, destroy another creature in opponent's control. So best use for tokens deck, and also a good attacker because of the Menace ability. But sadly, the toughness is not really what I'm oppressed because of the 3 power that can, I mean the 3 toughness that can be easily be targeted by burn spells or lightning strike. But the good news is that it still has an earth, and the unearthed of us would have you 3 generic and black to be able for it to attack again for a 5/3 menace, and an option to trigger this sacrifice. You may sacrifice your extra creatures or which you can unearth later on and use this to destroy a creature or a relevant creature that your opponent has. So mid-range decks with some of the for example, you have Tenacious Underdog to sacrifice on it, so still a good I think this would have 1 or 2 copies in the deck of those setup. Maybe black mono black or black red or Grixis. Okay, next, Taxodemon. Taxodemon is a demon for 2 and 2/2. You pay 3 tap, sacrifice on our creature artifact, draw a card. It's a good 2-drop, but the utility of having to pay 3 and sacrifice on our creature artifact is really bad. I think it's very expensive in a sense. If you are looking to sacrifice a creature or have a sacrifice source, then this is a good way, but you will just use it in the late game scenario because of quest activation would not really have you activated it in the early turns because you would need to develop your board first. So to be not to be undone, this is for instance that your opponent has stalled the board, or maybe you have a stalled setup. Enemy use your extra creatures to or artifacts to draw a card. Whirling Strike. This is a 2 cast red instant. Target creature gets +1 +0 and gains first second trouble until end turn. This can be good with now that Swift Sphere has back in standard, so mono red again can benefit this. But I would not really suggest this one because of the just not inefficient pump. The good thing is that you can just first strike against your opponent's creatures, but the bad thing is that if you really need some damage source on this, this is not enough for just a 2 mana, 2 additional 2 power. It's like a expensive version of Shock, but only if this benefits is on board states that you would need to do first, second trample. So still pros and cons how you would use this one in your mono red deck. The next up, your Geeksian. I think this is one of the last few cards. I think that's the last card. This is the I mentioned earlier that the potential of the Azoria soldiers in a previous video. So this one would really solidify the intent of the set to have a soldier tribal deck in standard. Because of this ability, still a 4 to cast white and blue to generic human soldier for 3/4. But the benefit is that other soldiers you control gets +1/+1. So still an expensive 4-drop. I would prefer 3-drop instead, but that's the only thing that we have today. It's still a good inclusion. I think 2 copies of this in the previous blue-white soldiers I've made in a previous video. So maybe we'll have an updated video for that one once the complete set is been out, and we'll have to refine again that build with this card included. So I think that's about it for checking this video. We have 16 cards revealed. Most of the commons are just going with the generic and probably some limited gameplay. Some of them also has standard potential, but I'm still looking at some of the upcoming cards that maybe even for just a common or uncommon would still have a benefit in our build, especially for standard, maybe for pioneer. But the good thing is that the set is still looking forward to be great because of this new abilities and the Unearth being returned for the metagame, and some other interesting interactions that are being reflected with this Brothers War theme with the war between Ursa and Mishra. So that's about it. Thank you for checking this video. Until the next time, if you like this content and more Magic the Gathering updates, just click on subscribe and turn on notification bells. Thank you for checking this video. Until the next time.